Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Coming into the backside of winter now. Haven't done a video in a while and I feel like doing a project. So I'm gonna build a meat smoker barbecue out of a couple old propane bottles. All right, so I got some miscellaneous things here. Brake rotor, a couple pieces of tube, a piece of 3-inch down there. I don't know if I'm gonna use it or not. Two 20-pound propane bottles, expired. And I've already removed the cores or the valves. Now that was several days ago, so these have had lots of time to vent out, so there's no worries there. Now the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of these carry handles, and one of these I'm going to turn into the Firebox, and the other one will be the barbecue portion. The idea here now is one of these is going to be the Firebox, so it's going to sit like that on top of the pedestal when I build it. And so I got to cut the front out of here, so this will be like a potbelly stove situation going on here. And then the other one's going to get mounted onto the top of this one like that. So I put the valve back in loosely, and I got some garden twine here and tied it on this marker. And the idea here is I want to mark about where the radius on the side of the bottle here transitions into the flat portion. Hopefully I can use this to mark this all the way around, and then I'll get a plasma cutter and cut the top out of that. All right, so plasma cutter made short work out of cutting the top out of that tank, and now I've never had one of these apart before, but there's an embossed lip, the bottom section. So these are done in two halves. It's kind of obvious. There's a weld seam, but the bottom is embossed so that the top section fits over it, and then it's just welded around the outside. Now, I think I'm going to do is grind off the weld seam on that other tank and make it so that it separates, and maybe put a hinge on the back here and utilize this emboss and put a grate here so that it opens in that fashion. So I tried just to grind the weld seam off. I'm going to put a cutting wheel in the grinder, and I'm going to try to just kind of stay in the center here and try to cut these two halves apart. Alright guys, two halves are separated. I did put a mark on them before I split them open, so I know where they sit. Okay, now this needs cleaned up because there's a better edge there than that radius the grinder left, and this is really sharp. This needs flattened down because it's like on a knife edge there. That they'll take care of that later. Now the idea is now to figure out how I'm going to mount this onto the side of that. All right, now here's where we're at. I cut the bottom ring off, as you can see, off of that one, the bottom of that one tank, and now it's sitting on there. Now it's just perched up there. It's not secure in any way. Now I'm going to move it back a little bit. You can see how the back of this tank curves down and this one curves up. So I'm going to utilize from here forward to sit on here. That's kind of what I got in mind. So I'm going to start, probably use that piece of 3-inch tube you saw earlier, and mark that off center, and then blow that out with the plasma cutter, set it back on top, mark it, and blow it out so that I can weld the two pieces together. Alright guys, you can see there's a bit of a gap under there. Easier to see from here. You can see that gap. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to put it on the floor, and I'm going to hit it here and there on the other side to get some of this kind of a shape going on to match up to the tank underneath. Alright guys, not a bad fit. Now I'll be able to a little more tappy when I get things all anchored in here. So I'm just going to throw some tacks on, and then we'll go from there. Nice. Alright guys, got the garage heated back up. This is day 2. Kind of think I'm going to change my mind here on the setup on the Firebox door here. The whole thing was supposed to be a door that swung open to the side. Well, I'm kind of thinking maybe it might be more practical to tack weld this back on here on the bottom, and then cut it off across here, and then I can use this hole as a vent, and possibly have this kind of like oven door style with a latch up here on the top. Oh shit. Blew a breaker. Alright, so got all this all welded up. It's cooled off. And now I'm going to take the angle grinder, flap disc, start cleaning up all these edges here. Alright guys, sorry about the heater in the background, but it is what it is. I got this all cleaned up and put back on. I got magnets holding it into position, and there's a little bit of distortion going on here, and it starts about where I've got it marked around to the bottom here. Same on the other side. So I don't know if the tank was allowed to spring open when I had the whole top cut off, or it has just naturally kind of deformed a little. So I'm going to try to just hammer this here, kind of flatten it out so that it matches up a little better. Okay, so I'm happy with the fit up now. It's better. I got a piece of 60 thou thick material here, and I'm going to cut a strip. I'm going to cut a strip off. Sorry about the heater, guys. It comes on when it needs to. Cut a strip and weld it onto the back of here to fill this gap in on the door. I may do around here later. I'm going to see how it functions first, because it is a Firebox. it is going to need a little bit of draft, okay? Alright guys, pretty straightforward here. This is my material. Got a piece of flat bar clamped to it. Just going to take a plasma cutter, and zip it down the edge. Give me a nice straight line, reposition the bar, and cut it again. Don't think you guys really need to see that. Pretty straightforward. Alright, so the strip is cut and fitted. Hopefully there's enough room in here to get the weld gun in. The idea is I'm going to tack right on either side of the center vice grip clamp so I can get it out of the way. Hopefully my weld gun fits in there. Then once it's all tacked into place and secure, now you can see, just because of the natural shape of this being round and this being straight, it comes uphill. So this will then afterwards get shaved off so that it's straight all the way around both sides. And I'll fit the door back on. Start thinking about a hinge. As you can see, it's all tacked in, and the distance from here to there was about 3/8 of an inch. So I marked it on each side, and then I just ran this tape strip across. That'll be pretty close enough, I think. And then I'm just going to take the angle grinder and grind off this material, which won't be much, down to the tape line. Okay, so here's the idea for the hinge. Now I'm trying to use just stuff I have kicking around for this entire build, if I can. Old 3/8 carriage bolt with no thread in the middle, a couple of nuts that I drilled out. They'll fit over top of that, and a piece of plate to go in the middle, so I'll cut this bolt off right here, there, weld this to that, and then put a nut on each end of the remaining shaft. Then take the whole assembly and weld it on here. So I'll weld on the bar, the flat bar here, and then there'll be like a nut here tacked on and a nut here tacked on, and that will make the hinge. So this is the simple hinge that I made. I got the door shimmed here a little bit to keep it where I want it. And I'm just going to get the welder out again, put a tack on each corner of the plate, and then make sure the nuts are tight together on each side, pushing into the middle, and tack those in. Okay, so you can see how that works, just like that. And it's going to open up just over halfway. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to grab my weld helmet and finish welding some of this up, and then come up with an idea for a latch up here at the top to actually keep the door closed. Okay, so since the principle for the door hinge down there worked so well, I'm going to use the same principle to latch the door closed. So I cut a piece of rod, drilled out a couple more nuts. The one on here, it's adjustable. It's on the threaded portion. So weld that to that, and that to that, and probably just take a washer and split it. So I have the hole, put a little bend in it, and weld it onto the front of here. That's kind of the principle behind this. So I think this action is going to work out all right. It just opens up. And of course I'm going to have to put a different handle on. Opens up like so. Put your materials in. Close her up. And latch it down. Pretty simple. Now I've got these grates over here to figure out how to put in to here and there. I trimmed that one to fit. I may have to weld a couple tabs in there we'll have to see. This one here, I still have to trim to fit, and I'm definitely going to have to put some kind of supports. So I've got the other grate cut, as you can see, but it sits way down inside. Now, I had an old barbecue weenie roaster thing, and that's quite a nice piece of 200 thou rod. So I just marked some spots here and there, same on the other side about, and just gonna drill a hole, put the rod through, cut it off, and weld it in, and that will support this grate. Okay, so drilled the 4 holes. Had to take the drill and kind of twist it a little because I was drilling in this way. You need to be facing that way, and then shove the rod through. It looks good. I'm gonna take the MIG welder. I'm gonna plug weld that, and then take the grinder and cut that off, weld it in, and then do the same to the other side. Okay, so you can see the grilling grate is going to sit quite nicely on those 2 rods. Okay, so things are coming together. I'm going to use this old brake rotor to mark a circle in the top, and then cut that out with a plasma cutter, and then make a piece that fits in there as a flap or a vent. Okay, so nothing fancy here. Opened a hole up there where the valve used to be. Cut a piece, kind of like that. Goes over the hole. Now I'm going to take another piece of that rod from before, and I'm going to weld it to there, drill a hole, set it in, and then put some weld on the back side, and then it will be a vent that will open and close like so. Now I got the vent done. You can see, pretty straightforward, pretty simple little vent. Now I cut the old carry handles off the top ring. One's going to go on here to open and close the door, and then one of these ones on each side like that to lift the top off. So handle tacked on there, that one's tacked on there, that one's tacked on there. I'm gonna grab my mask and weld these in, and then when I come back, be thinking about some type of a stand. So I abandoned the brake rotor idea, grabbed a couple more sticks of this cut off, and just gonna build a simple H-frame like I've got here. And I'm just gonna weld this together enough to hold it together, and then mount that on the top of there. So frame's all welded up and attached to the unit, and I think this is going to make a nice little smoker. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of Scrap Metal Smoker Project. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. And most of all, guys, stay safe.